Hello guys, welcome to an extra trading video. In this video, I'm going to give an update on the price of Bitcoin. So today is Monday, and as you guys can see, like we mentioned last week, we couldn't close the candle above 110,000 and basically close the candle below this level, and therefore this week again we had a little bit of correction. So as you guys may remember, I said that switching from silver to red on the DXY was always followed in previous bear market. It was always followed by a little bit of a correction. So if we consider the 112,000 price range that Bitcoin tapped it to last week, we can actually see that at the moment, or last week we made a 7%, 8% correction already. We don't know whether this correction is going to continue. We know that switching from silver to red on the DXY in the past was followed by sometimes 20 to 30% correction. So far, we have 8%, and we want to find out if this correction already finished or if we can actually somehow retest the top of this channel, which could be around 18-20% or correction. So whatever happened, if this happened, a 20% correction, we would still have the top of this channel as support, and this wouldn't be something to worry about, as the DXY is already red, and having correction during this period as we switch from silver to red is something pretty normal, or it happened before. So as you guys can see, switching from silver to red was always followed during a correction, or followed by a correction. In this case, we had it was coming out of a 30% correction, but because the DXY was already switched from silver to red, we managed to continue, and it happened exactly when we were below the middle of this upward channel in 2017. But you guys can see what happened. Managed to break above the middle of this upward channel and retest the top of it. The same thing happened here. You can see after switching from silver to red was followed by a 20% correction, like we mentioned last week. Was a 20% correction around this level, and consolidated above this downward trend line, was below the middle of this upward channel. But because we were red already, managed to push upward, break the resistance, and retest the top of this upward channel. So in my thesis, this means we can get a little bit of correction here, but because we are red already, we will be able to recover and most likely conquer the middle of this upward channel and possibly retest the top of it, which would be brilliant. And you can see where Bitcoin can tap major price levels such as 174,000, 253,000, and 382,000 ultimately as the top. So this is something that we have to keep an eye on, although we are still being rejected by 110,000. This is not a problem. So far, everything looks that is right on track. We need to see what's going to happen based on this indicator. So whatever happens, we have to let it go and see and trust the signal. DXY and Bitcoin ratio. For that reason, we can see that the ratio is behaving normally. We can see that the RSI is somehow still below. You guys can see it's still below. With this weekly candle close, we can see that it's still below the downward trend line. Had a little bit of retest at the moment. So as Bitcoin is currently around 105,000, around 105,000, we can see that we are respecting this downward trend line perfectly. And what we want to see if we can keep below this downward trend line, and of course come and try to retest the under 8 the 18.62 level, which is where we are expecting the RSI to become green in this case, like what happened in previous uh, bull market acceleration and top, as you, like what happened here. So we are expecting the same thing to happen as soon as we break above our 110,000 level. So the fear and greed index, this is something that we last week we were actually we knew that we lost support around 74. It was a level of resistance, like we were mentioning. We are currently at 64 in greed, which is good. But like yesterday, we tested 56, which is greed, but very close to neutral territory. As you guys can see, 56, but we retested 50, which is neutral, the neutral territory. And this neutral territory is something that happened before. If we zoom out a little bit and compare when we were actually switching from silver to red, during this period, we were actually, as you can see, it was around September 2020. If you come around September 2020, you can see what level we were around 40, 48, 50s, around fear and neutral territory. And we can see what happened next, finding support, switching from silver to red on the DXY, what happened to the sentiment, we start pushing, and we were able to actually break some resistance, including the middle of the support channel. So it's very similar sentiment, switching from silver to red. Usually the market is neutral in terms of sentiment. Usually it's neutral or fearful, but of course not extreme fear. It's good that we are around 50 neutral territory and greed, which means anytime we can actually break above the 74 level, which would be extreme greed. Pretty much This is what we have to show you today. We can see that the DXY, like mentioned last week, is weak, will remain red. You can see we had another candle. This weekly candle close was kind of another rejection. It's very similar to this one, which means that the XY will continue closing candle below its upward channel, outside its upward channel, quite, you know, far away from those moving averages, below this moving average. Pretty similar to what happened during this period. You can see pretty similar closing, the extra closing kind of below this moving average. The orange, if you see the orange, is quite bullish for Bitcoin. Somehow we find support around this level and start pushing higher. So we are expecting the same thing. Somehow for Bitcoin to keep consolidating. It shouldn't break the downward channel, and we need to retest the 110,000 as soon as possible. It could be after a quick week to the downside, but we know that we are on the right track based on this signal. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and sharing this video with your friend and family. And I will see you next Monday. Thank you very much, guys.